David, as we move closer to the trade deadline, what is the scope of roster overhaul, I guess, you're willing to engage in right now? Is it strictly guys that are going to be expiring contracts this season, or are you really open to a lot of different possibilities?
I think we have to be open-minded. We've been very clear, Steve's been very clear that we expect to compete in 2027, and we have to keep that in mind. We also have to make moves that we believe are right for the organization. And so we're sitting here 9-10 days out for the deadline, and we're not going to close any paths down right now.
We just spoke to Clay, and he essentially indicated that there really haven't been any substantive extension talks. And I know he had acknowledged a willingness to work on an extension. Why, from your point of view, have those talks not been worthwhile right now?
Yeah, I'm not going to get into commenting on any specifics of talks that may have or may not have occurred.
Tony?
Do you expect to, get things done soon, or is it more a scenario where you want strategically to take what you can right up until the deadline?
I don't know. I think every deadline moves a little bit at its own pace. A week and a half is an eternity at deadline season. We see it every year. There are active discussions going on throughout the industry. That is certainly the case. Really, once you get through the draft, talks pick up, and when deals ultimately get across the finish line, it's tough to tell. There's always the acceleration of deals at the deadline. We see that every year. Most of the deals get done in the last 24, 48 hours. It'll be the same thing this year. When exactly we make our first deal, really tough for me to predict right now.
Also, obviously you didn't want to be in this situation, right, where you're selling off pieces. As a GM, is there almost like a grieving process that the roster that you constructed is going to be disassembled in a certain way? And, to what extent did you go through that?
That was not a question I was expecting today. I don't know exactly what the stages of grief are, but whatever they are, probably have to wait because we're really busy to get through this period. This season didn't go as we anticipated. It's extremely disappointed. I am extremely disappointed that we are in this situation. But I am also very aware we are in this situation. It's my job to do what's in the best interest of the organization right now.
Zach?
How would you characterize the level of interest you're getting on your players that are available from other teams?
I think there's in general throughout the industry pretty robust conversation and chatter right now. I think it's always difficult to characterize exact level of interest, especially this early out, but there's lots of discussion. There are lots of conversations, and I'm sure that's going to continue right up until the deadline.
Howie?
David, two things if I can. First, in comparison with previous trade deadlines that you've been involved with, given the uncertainty over the next CBA and what the system will be, has that affected the scope of conversations that you and other teams seem to have had, and are the big ticket guys who might be available less likely perhaps to be moved because of all of that uncertainty?
To this point, I have not noticed a change in the types of discussions you would have this year. Everyone's aware that the CBA expires. We also still have to operate all of our franchises and all of our organizations. And so I don't get the sense right now that that's a real impactful element of this deadline.
So when you look back to not only what's happened this year, but from about mid-June last year to the end of that season, with all of the changes that have been made, you're still where you are. So when you go back and sort of re-examine how you've gotten from early last season to here, is there a constant? Is there one thing that you feel that you really need to dig into to avoid what's been the trend for fully a year now from continuing?
Yeah, I don't think it's one thing. I think if there's one thing, that's the easy thing to change, the easy thing to rectify. I think when you had the level of underperformance, and disappointment that we've had this year. It is multiple things compiling on each other, exacerbating each other, and that gets you to where we are right now.
Chelsea.
Kind of along those lines. I mean, you mentioned like the disappointment and things not going the way you thought. I know when players, hit that kind of thing, there are guys who tinker and there are guys who are like, I gotta stay with what I've done to get me here. Where do you kind of fall on the spectrum? Has it been hard to be patient? Are you someone who's tinkering with your approach a lot? Like, where have these few months kind of left you right now?
Yeah, I think it leaves you in a place of evaluation. It leaves you in a place of determining where we can do better. That's been an ongoing process, will continue to be an ongoing process, and I do think we will get better through this. There are also some elements that I believe we're doing well under the surface, but as I've said many times before, at the end of the day, we're judged by Major League wins, and our Major League wins, Major League record, have not been good enough now for a full year, and I am very much aware of that.
Will.
Hey, Dave, there's still a group of teams who are kind of bunched up in the standings or are still yet to declare one way or the other what they plan on doing. Is that state of uncertainty affecting you guys at all? Is there a trickle-down effect to your talks with other teams?
There is this group that's still trying to figure it out, and that is relatively normal. Maybe a few more clubs in that clump this year than a normal deadline. Maybe that slows things down a little bit. I'm not sure yet, but I would agree with you. There's a decent segment of the industry that's still trying to figure out what it's going to do.
And just given his importance to the club and the fact that he's been mentioned a bunch, are you able to rule out the idea that Francisco Lindor would get traded at this deadline?
I'm not going to rule out or in any specific player on anything. I don't think that's wise for me to do. What I will say is we've got a group of young players and we've got some potential Hall of Famers, future Hall of Famers that we view as our core, and we expect them to be our core.
Ben.
Hey, David. Obviously, your farm system has produced guys who have come up the last couple of years, but now it's maybe not looked upon as highly as it was. How would you view where the farm system is right now, and how much of an emphasis is it to kind of replenish that talent as you go into the deadline?
Yeah, as you've noted, we've graduated some really high upside young talent that's producing at the major league level right now, which is really exciting for us and forms a good part of that core that we were just talking about. We've had some prospects who have hit bumps in their development, and that is not unusual. Really, really good major leaguers have had bumps in their development. I certainly believe in the people we have throughout our development apparatus. I believe we have good coaches. I believe that our players work really hard, and in my experience, Johnny, that leads to really positive outcomes.
Mike.
David, you've, the draft is behind you now. You've got a bunch of new guys in the organization. As you look at the organization top to bottom here, entering the deadline, the assets that you have, is there an area or several areas where you will prioritize looking to improve, whether it be upper levels of the minors, lower levels of the minors, pitching, power, some sort of character traits that you are looking to prioritize in what you can bring back here?
I don't think it makes sense for us to zoom in on whether it's a particular skill set or a particular player profile and say that's the type of player we need to acquire. I think we see all over the big leagues that there are players who can impact winning in very different ways, and we have to recognize that in our evaluation of whatever deals may or may not be in front of us. We see different types of prospects traded in different deadlines. It's very difficult to predict exactly the type of player that's going to be traded, the type of player that's going to be available at a deadline, any particular deadline, and we've seen that over the course of deadlines. So I think we have to stay open-minded and really see what types of players become available as we continue to engage in these conversations.
Tim.
given the uncertainty of the offseason and what's kind of viewed as a relatively weak free agent market, does that make this trade deadline more of an opportunity in your mind to maybe add major league talent for 27, 28, and beyond?
I think we're always looking for those types of opportunities. We'll continue to do that at this deadline, but very difficult to know whether something like that actually pans out.
Zach?
David, you'd mentioned when you were asked about Lindor, you have a group of young players, some veterans that you view as part of your core. You consider Francisco part of your core moving forward?
Yeah, I think what I said was we have a group of really young players who we're really excited about. We have some couple guys who are likely headed to Cooperstown one day, and we would consider that grouping of players our core. I'm not going to get into specifics of who exactly we are or not going to trade right now.
Do you talk to Francisco at all with the noise out there about
I talk to our players regularly, and I'm not going to get into the specific conversations that I'm having with them.
Tony?
This might be in a slightly similar vein, but you have, your catchers have come up in conversation. They're both obviously under control beyond this season. To what extent do you consider those guys part of your core, something you can't live without going forward versus something that, you could get value for?
Yeah, I think without commenting on any specific player or approach to any specific player, catching is really important. We're very fortunate to have two really good ones.
Howie?
David, this isn't necessarily just trade deadline related, but it's pretty obvious to those of us who are here nightly and have been for years that there are fewer scouts that come through, whether just before the trade deadline or throughout the season, than there used to be. And with all of the information that you have now at your fingertips that aren't necessarily the product of scouting as opposed to various metrics, is there a void that you feel can or should be filled specifically with advanced scouts to supplement the information that you have?
Yeah, so I think scouting is still an enormous part of our game. I think if we look across the industry, I think my first year in the industry was like 2007, 2008, and there are more scouts in the industry now than there were when I first started. But you're also right that fewer of them are at major league ballparks. There are more scouts in the amateur arenas. There are more scouts in international arenas. There are more scouts at the lower levels of minor leagues. In terms of specifically advanced scouting, I do think a lot of organizations, especially as you get into September and the playoffs, do have in-person advanced scouting. And I think for the regular season, most organizations have now transitioned to some combination of video scouting for your upcoming opponents, plus the information that is more analytical in nature.
Is there, would you say, the need perhaps to supplement all of that with more human witnesses, let's say, scouts who have trained eyes that can complement the information that you've gotten, even if it's just through video?
From an advanced scouting perspective?
Yeah, mostly.
From an advanced scouting perspective, I think there are always things you can pick up in ballpark, absolutely, that are difficult to pick up, whether it's through video or elsewhere.
Max?
Hey, David, how would you assess the state of your starting rotation through a long-term lens, like beyond this season?
Yeah, I think we have some young starters at the major league level who are performing really well that we're excited about. I think we have some starting pitching coming behind it, some of which has progressed really nicely this year, and some of which have hit some of those speed bumps that we talked about earlier. And so I think from a young starting perspective, we still feel pretty good about where we are as an organization. And then that it's probably also an area we're going to have to look to supplement as we head into 27. But we'll get to that as we get to real planning and discussion about what 27 looks like.
Keith?
David, as you look forward and potentially look at guys that are under contract next year that may or may not move, do you think, now that Robert and Polanco are back and healthy, that your lineup that you put together has gotten a fair shake as to what it was supposed to look like?
Has there been enough runway?
I don't know that it matters, to be honest with you. Whether it's the lineup we put together or the lineup that's been on the field hasn't been good enough, and I'm certainly aware of that. So, look, you go into a season, you know you're going to face adversity. You know the 8 position players that you expect to have out there the majority of the time aren't going to be out there every day. And so you got to prepare for that. And the group that we've had out there, we haven't been able to win enough games.
All right.
David, when you say you think you need to supplement the starting rotation for 27, do you think you will change the type of player you look for, the type of pitcher you look for, whether it's, a big-time free agent or, I don't know, the kind of pitcher you're looking for, like a right-hander, left, whatever it is. Are you going to change the way you look at the starting pitching when you look to acquire it?
I think it'd be premature for me to comment on sort of what the 27 plan is. I think we're focused right now more on the next 10 days and doing the best we can for the next 10 days.
Andrew?
Are there sort of any inherent challenges being a team that came in with such expectations to make such a pivot now with the timeline and how it kind of all transpired and just the belief where you were in June to now at this point?
Are there extra challenges with that?
Just having that feeling that you were a championship contender coming
Yeah.
into the season and now obviously having to pivot towards the future.
Yeah, it's very disappointing. I don't know that there are extra challenges from an operational standpoint. We still need to go out and have a good deadline and execute the best we can and do what we can to make the right organizational decisions, help ourselves in the future. Very disappointing, but we still have a job to do.
Will?
Hey, David. Carlos Beltran on one of the Hall of Fame calls said that he had checked in with you guys or had conversations with you guys about the manager position. How would you characterize those talks?
I'm not going to get into any specific conversations that may or may not have occurred. I'll say I love having Carlos as a special assistant. He does a great job. And I'm really excited for him and his family about what they're about to experience this weekend. It's very well deserved.
Howie?
Real quickly, has anything transpired since the managerial change that gives you pause for keeping to the original plan where Andy was just going to go back to the minor leagues and you look elsewhere for a manager? Or has anything that's transpired since then perhaps changed that even in the slightest?
I think Andy's done a really nice job in this role. The plan remains the same, where we anticipate him coming back to the front office.